recording first?
Yes, please. Can we do the recording first?
Yes, I see the transcription has started, so it sounds like recording. We are recording. So I will call this meeting of the Municipality of Anchorage Board of Ethics to order. Madam Clerk, would you take the roll?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Wint Pearson.
Here.
Ms. Pallison.
Here.
Mr. Goodstein.
Here.
Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Ms. Wilson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's move on to approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. I would need a moment just to look at those minutes. So let's take a moment and take a look at them and then I can entertain a motion.
Those minutes are included in the non-confidential packet we received. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Do I have a motion regarding the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of September 21st, 2022, and the special meeting of October 5th, 2022.
Have a second?
Second?
All right, any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain until I know if I should be here.
Perfect. Okay. All right, moving on then to the consent agenda. I also actually need a minute to take a quick look at these forms. So if we could take a quick moment to look at them and then we can entertain a
Madam
motion.
Chair, does the board also need to approve the agenda?
Oh, I apologize. I missed that agenda item altogether. A motion to approve the agenda?
Second. All right. Sorry. I so move.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Joan is abstaining?
Yes.
Okay. Then on to the consent agenda. And I apologize, Madam Clerk. Thank you for the reminder.
I got a question about Austin Quinn Davidson's. Has anyone gotten down that far yet?
I'm still looking at Ms. Sassi's.
Yeah, I was at Miss Sassy's too.
Okay. Go back up to that
And
one.
Madam Chair, if I might provide a little bit of context for the assembly member disclosures.
Sure.
Can I do that? Yeah, I just want to let the board know that the clerk's office recommended that all assembly members just resubmit a disclosure form to the board based on some other conversations you've had. We just thought it would be a good idea. Some of them had one on file and some didn't. So we just recommended to the whole body that they resubmit to the board. So that's why you're seeing these.
That answers my question. Thank you so much.
Did we look at Miss Sassy's last time and we wanted something more, or is this something
I think
different?
it was Mr. Edgington's last time.
I think that's right. Thank you.
I do think Miss Sassy has submitted two. If I could maybe ask Miss Brister if she remembers, but that's my recollection. This is a second disclosure from Miss Sassy.
Okay.
Yes, this ended up on this agenda rather than the previous.
Got it. Okay, this is the Imagine Gerber disclosure.
Do you remember why we took it to this agenda? Was it that we wanted, I couldn't remember if we needed some additional information or we wanted to talk about it more. Does anyone remember why?
This one was submitted after the agenda deadline.
Oh, okay.
So this is a whole new one.
Is it disclosing something different than the last one, or is it a?
I'm going to pull up the one that was submitted last meeting and circulate it.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Mr. Zepay is the head of solid waste services. Am I remembering that correctly from the? Didn't we meet with him potentially in a previous context? Okay, I was just trying to remember what his relationship might be to anyone to street maintenance.
Wait, yeah, what's SWS?
Solid waste services.
Okay.
I don't think I have any questions about any of these
Yeah,
in terms of specific concerns, other than if there was something we should know about in terms of the last disclosure that was submitted by Ms. Saucy. Let me look at the. Oh, I haven't gotten that.
I don't know. So with Mr. Zepay, he has two things he's disclosing? Alaska Pro Truckers Inc. and Zepay Services LLC, is that correct?
I'm looking
yeah, I think so. But it looks like the first one he's now turned over. And so,
So they're both applying to. I'm reading. Am you guys reading this as I am that both of these of the entities that he either owns or that a family member owns are both competing for the snow hauling services contract?
that's what it looks like to me. And the second one, he didn't identify the municipal contract, but I assume that's because it's the same one. Does that seem right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. I mean, I don't know.
I don't think I see any problems with those disclosures.
It is a little confusing because you're right. I almost read like if I look at page 2 of his disclosure, it looks like at the top there's like the contract interest, and somehow he and is that his daughter or his wife, some family member, are co-own something. So is that, I guess that's maybe a summary of the below 2 items, like he owns an interest in Alaska Pro Truckers, and then Colby owns an interest in Zepay Services LLC.
That's what I thought, because in the first page, there's intent to respond to public solicitation. There's a number, solicitation number. He's an employee of SWS. First one down, that's that same solicitation number. And the Alaska Pro Truckers is apparently soliciting for this, but he doesn't own that anymore. And then the other one is a family member. It seems okay to me.
Okay, do I have a motion, or do we want to, is there further discussion of any of these disclosures?
I move that the consent agenda be the forms for board review be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? It looks like the disclosure last month is almost word for word a repeat of this month's disclosure from Supervisor Saucy.
Yeah, did we just not look at it because it wasn't in on time? Like we saw it, but it wasn't officially on the agenda. Is that what happened?
I think the second page is the only real difference. Are you?
Yeah, I'm just looking at trying to look at them next to each other. What's the difference?
Ooh,
I'm
Yeah,
not
sure.
actually seeing.
earthquake. You want to feel that?
Oh, yeah. The dogs just all jumped up.
It hasn't reached the hillside yet. Maybe it's still coming.
Good luck.
Where in town are you, Abram? Are you?
I'm in East Anchorage.
Okay, maybe it's an east side earthquake. Are you over in the east side too, Terry?
Yeah, I'm over by Lake Otis. Yeah.
Okay.
That's funny. I didn't feel it. I'm downtown.
Yeah, I didn't feel
I'm
it at all.
downtown too, and I didn't feel it. And that would be my first earthquake on the 16th floor. I'm not looking forward to that.
Oof.
Oh, yeah, the swaying is a lot of fun.
Sorry, after I approve the consent agenda, I might want to take that back. On the consent agenda, there, it says there is a disclosure from Meg Zalatel, and I don't see it.
I think I just.
Yeah, I don't either. That's a good question.
No, our apologies, board members, if that was inadvertently left out of your packet. We'll circulate that as well. There is indeed a disclosure from Ms. Lalatel.
Okay,
Has anyone identified what the actual difference is between page 2? Maybe I'm missing it, Jennifer. Could you point it out? I don't see the difference between page 2 of Ms. Saucy's last disclosure and this page 2.
I'm going to defer to Ms. Brister because I think she has a better handle on this than I do.
Yes, on the second disclosure, which would be the one for this meeting, the top box, it describes the potential for conflict, and it did not in the submission from the last meeting.
Top box describes the potential for conflict. I'm seeing the same exact words in both ones on the version that Jennifer just sent out. Each of them say, I'm an executive board member of the Imagine Girdwood Committee, which has received funding from the Municipality of Anchorage and Heritage Land Bank to fulfill our work rewriting the Girdwood Area Plan.
And the one from last meeting was lacking that language. It just was a blank box.
Okay,
so
because
this
the
just
version that
added.
Jennifer just circulated from the last meeting is the same, like, it does not have a blank box. It has, anyway.
I think it might be a
Like-
circulation issue. I think we're,
Yeah, the one
I
that
think
you
you're
just sent out, Jennifer, that says 2022-0919 has exactly
Yep.
the same language. But if it's just additional language, then that's fine. It doesn't seem like it impacts our disclosure. So now we're just waiting on the Meg Zalatel disclosure.
yeah. Are we gonna wait for that one now, or should we move on and come back?
Is it on its way, Jennifer? Should we?
I just sent board members.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
So we'll wait momentarily.
got it. Okay.
I got it. Yep.
Okay, having looked at that, I would like to renew my motion to approve the disclosures on the consent agenda.
I guess for Meg's, I'm not sure that the disclosure is correct. So we might need to, if you notice, it says, could the performance of your official duties in any way affect the entity, this entity being Anchorage Coalition, and could affect the entity's business with the municipality? The answer she put is no. Could someone enlighten me how that could be possible?
Oh, I
And surely the assembly could take some sort of action that would directly impact Anchorage Coalition for the Homeless, right?
I mean, she wrote on the
Which
bottom
she
of,
probably admits in the next section by saying, "I'll abstain from any votes."
I think
So
she.
the answer
I think,
can't be
I think
both.
that's so. I read that as saying she's saying that her official. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're right, but I think she's saying that her official duties don't because she doesn't she doesn't engage in those official duties. That's how I read it. But your reading is probably.
Well, I think the second, like, I'm not sure what that question is asking. I thought, I read that question, that could your performance of your official duties in any way affect the entity's business with the municipality to, I guess maybe the window you're saying, Terry, right? Could anything the assembly do impact? And here it's specific to her business relationships, right? So it's specific to whether there is funding that goes to the coalition. That's what she's highlighting. And so I think the answer there is supposed to be yes, because in the next one she says during the vote, what described the potential for conflict, and it's during the vote on whether or not to award funding. So if there's a vote, and she says, I do not take any official action regarding these grants. And so it looks like if yes, like that should, the answer to that, for that question should be yes. The question, could the performance of your official duties?
It's funny because it looks like she wrote yes and whited it out and put no, and I wonder what that was.
Because the Code of Ethics says you can't have such a contract if your official duties could affect the service or the award, execution or administration of the grant. And so that's probably why she changed it. That section of the code, which is, by the way, 115-100B2, allows for further review by the Board of Ethics. So it's not an ironclad prohibition that someone can go to the Board of Ethics, even if their official actions could impact the contracting entity that the public servant belongs to.
Yeah, I mean, I am in time. Can you read the citation again, Terry, if we're.
Yeah, it's 115-100B2.
Well, I guess B2A, does that mean that they couldn't take any official action or that they won't? Because I read that to say the public servant does not take any official action. So she recuses herself from the vote. So she does not actually take any official action. She could take official action.
Yeah, I
So
wonder.
I
I've
don't read
I've
2A
always
to preclude
as
her
clear
from
as I
having
know.
it, but just from taking any official action herself.
Why do you think we would need B then?
Because we might, in certain instances, say, fine, you can still vote because the interest is sufficiently attenuated, or there's mitigating circumstances and we need the whole assembly to vote or something like that, or your official action is sufficiently marginal or ministerial as to render the conflict insignificant. I think it would effectively preclude the assembly from having any interest, assembly members from having any interest in any municipal contract if we read B2A to say that the possibility of taking official action on an item precludes you from, having that.
Well, or it would mean that, and I think this was, at least, I think at times we've read it this way in the past, like years ago, that it would mean that they would have to come to us and kind of work out in some detail, here's the potential entanglement, here's what I'm going to be doing to prevent that from happening. Because otherwise you don't even, otherwise you can just put no as the answer and sort of in your own mind say, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just not going to, but that's not a disclosure then. That's not.
Yeah, I mean, I think her answer should be yes. And I don't think it precludes 2A because the verb is different. Like this form says could, and the code provision says does. So, like, I think her answer should be yes. that her performance of duties could affect the entity's business, but she is going to recuse herself, which is her way of, and I think we have the power here to ask her to come in and talk to us in greater depth if we aren't comfortable with that with that response.
Were I to continue, I think 2B is the more appropriate criteria than A, because I do think it's the position that matters, not whether or not someone acts according to their position.
Well, wait, and hold on just a second. There's 2 spots on the form. And I think actually, I wonder if we're reading this wrong. The top half of the form identifies the municipal contract and then says, could the performance of your official duties in any way affect the contract? And she said NA, I think, because in her mind, which maybe that should be yes, and then it's like, no, but it won't because I won't vote. But then the second one, she's saying what the entity name is and her position in the Anchorage Coalition to End Homelessness. And then it says, could the performance of your official duties in any way affect the, oh, never mind. I wonder, does one of those refer to her duties?
I don't think so, because official duties
That's official
is-
duties.
is
what's
like
the
her
difference?
official duties for the municipality. I don't think that's a description of.
Yeah, what's the difference between the top and the bottom of that page?
Yeah, I don't know what the difference in the disclosure is. Could the performance of your official duties in any way affect the contract? Could the performance of your official duties in any way affect the entity's business with the municipality? I mean, I think either way, the answer to at least one of them is yes.
Yeah.
And we probably are better served to ask her to come and talk to us. What did we do with like, because this is sort of like the circumstance, didn't we have an issue, this may be when I wasn't on the board, or maybe it was before I took the municipal attorney job. I thought there was an issue under the Berkowitz administration with Mara, his wife, applying, like her organization at the time, maybe it was the Institute for Justice, like got a contract, like a mayor's grant. And there was this question about whether she could apply for a mayor's grant, given that he's the mayor. Does anyone remember that case? I was trying to, this is sort of similar in that, like, what do you do? Are you automatically precluded from participating in any contract that comes before the body that you, like, before the assembly or to the executive branch if you are the mayor, or not? Maybe no one else remembers that precedent.
Now, the one I remember, and as I recall, it's where 2B came from, was the coach for the air rifle team over at Service years and years ago was also held the contract to maintain and repair the air rifles for Service. And it's like, whoa, and I don't think B existed. It was only 2A. And it was like, you can't, who votes, who decides on who gets that contract? He goes, I do. I'm the head coach of the team. And we're like, this is crazy. And we were about to scotch the whole thing. But then we're like, but then he pointed out, he goes, well, the main reason we do it is that I'm the only person in Alaska who is actually certified to.
And I feel like our position is not that he can't do it, but that someone else has to make that decision. I'm thinking of the Lance Wilbur example. Remember where we awarded a contract, Muni awarded a contract to his wife, and the conclusion there wasn't that the Muni can't award a contract to the OMB director's wife, but that he needs to recuse himself from his role in the process completely and not be even part of a ministerial act of confirming that contract. So I think our conclusion is it's a manageable conflict if you can recuse yourself completely. But then the question is, should we ask her to come in? Because it also says if this is not met, the public servant may request additional review by the Board of Ethics. Do they have to?
No, they don't. No, because they might just not participate in the contract then.
But can they still participate if they do not? Again, it's also this isn't the same phrasing as do not or could not. Like this doesn't say if the public servant could take action, but they do not. I mean, it seems like the better part of valor is to ask Meg to come talk to us.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, if nothing else, you know, Aisha points out the disclosure question is much broader, right? I mean, it's the disclosure question is more in the spirit of the way I read 2A is, you know, your official duties, the range of official actions that you might be taking, could they impact this business entity?
But that's not what the question is. It's the contract.
No, not for the second one.
The entity's business with the municipality.
See, but because it's on the same page, it sort of implies like I mean, this disclosure.
Yeah, notice there's two categories, it looks like. If you look at the very top of that page, you know, there's two kind of, you know, a municipal contract, an economic interest in a municipal contract, or an entity engaging in a business with the municipality. And so it looks like she's identifying a contract holder in one, and then an entity that's engaging in business with the municipality in the second one.
No, that's the contract that the coalition holds. Right?
Yeah, I think because
The
in
coalition holds an alcohol tax outreach I mean, there's broader issues in Meg's instance with, you know, like other decisions the assembly makes that impact issues of homelessness that are also worked on by, but I don't think that's what this form is asking her to disclose. This is a financial interest. It just goes to contracts or does business with the municipality.
Right.
And Madam Chair, if I could add, Member Zolotel did bring a disclosure to the full body at the assembly meeting. I don't know if it relates specifically to this form, but she did ask the body to vote on her potential conflict of interest, so she has done that as well.
I mean, I think that was, I know that she does that with respect to, because that was an issue that Megan and I discussed with her with respect to the most recent assembly vote on the Golden Lion, I think, the use of the Golden Lion. And so, and she sought advice about the items that were necessary in her disclosure to the full body, which is appropriate. I mean, that's, to me, that's the code that like provides that that's the method for each individual decision for an assembly member. But 115-100 provides this other specific framework for contract interests. Like there's lots of different ways, policy ways that the coalition is affected by the assembly, but this is a 115-100 ask about a specific municipal contract. And this is the contract that they hold, which is the
two of them actually, but yeah.
ARPA round 2 and
well,
whatever, alcohol tax outreach.
I suggest that either way that one of us or somebody reach out to Meg Zolotel, because I think that the first part, the top part where she says NA is probably not correct.
I think in each instance it's probably not correct.
So we could ask her to either change it, or if she doesn't feel like changing it to yes is appropriate, then maybe come speak with us. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Well, I think if she changes it to yes, then she should come to speak with us. I mean, I've realized the code language is very conditional. If this requirement is not met, the public servant may request. And here it says, if yes, the public servant may request additional review. But I think we should request that she come. If we're asking her to change it, I think we should request that she come and talk to us. Also for her protection, right? Because the code says that she should talk to the board of ethics. So if someone later complains about the fact that she did not somehow thoroughly go through the process here, I think our job is to say, offer the sounding board, provide any advice, and then approve whatever modified version of the disclosures are reached.
I'm fine with that.
So I guess we need a vote, and then we can ask some of our staff members if to follow up as appropriate with Member Zolotel. So would you like to amend your initial motion? I believe we had a motion pending.
Sure, I would move to approve the consent agenda with the exception of the disclosure by Meg Zolotel, and ask her, and my apologies if I'm not pronouncing her name correctly, and the board, I think, has a concern about her disclosure and would like to invite her to come and speak with the board at its next meeting.
Did we have a second before? Who'd like to re-second that motion?
Re-second that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing nothing. All in favor of approval of the consent agenda with the exceptions noted by Ms. Paulson, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Abstain.
Someone's abstaining for the record. And that passes. Jennifer or Megan or Paul, could we ask one of you as appropriate to reach out to Member Zalatel and ask her to come and speak with us on the next agenda?
Yes, I can do that. This is Megan. I can reach out to her.
Okay, perfect.
board members, I have to step out for just a moment and collect my child. I will be right back in about 2 minutes.
Oh, and Becky, FYI, I hate to say it, I've got the same situation at 3:30 again, so I'll be gone for about 10 minutes while I run and grab Elias from school. Sorry.
Understood.
Crazy. I can't believe we have to do this.
All right. Going back to my agenda. Where are we? Okay. All right, so we've approved the consent agenda. We're on to unfinished business. First item is 6A, request for advisory opinion 2022-12, and that is, Joan, your request with respect to your potential conflict or potential disqualifying characteristic, I guess is what I would describe it, pursuant to the code language regarding appointed or elected public servants serving on the Board of Ethics. My notes are that you had waived confidentiality with respect to that, so we'll continue this discussion in open session.
Correct. And my request for advisory opinion identifies that.
Perfect. Okay. And so from our pre-meeting, I understand that Paul has completed some legal research and potentially has some further information and opinion to share with us. It may be in the packet. I realize I've not scrolled down. Do we have something in the packet to look at?
I
Paul?
didn't see it in the packet.
No, there's nothing in the packet. And Megan, so I drafted the memo, and Megan and I had both reviewed that. But my understanding is that Blair is still reviewing that. So I'm not sure if that's going to be the final advice or the final position of the municipal attorney's office, or if she's going to disagree with that analysis or recommend some changes. But I don't think we have.
Then at this point, continue this to a future meeting. I mean, I feel like I know we are mindful of the fact that we don't want to continue to put Joan in the position of waiting and not having a full the administration not being clear on her seat for a longer period of time. But I also am reluctant to pick up the issue without the advice of the municipal attorney's office that we've been waiting for.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Paul. We've forwarded the memo on to Blair, and it's just waiting for her discussion approval. So I think it would be a good idea to move this forward to a future meeting for future discussion. But we are trying. She is aware of the issue. It just needs some final approval and discussion. But as everybody knows, well, as people might not know, she's basically doing 2 jobs right now. She's the acting municipal attorney. She's basically the only person there. So her plate is pretty full at the moment.
So my only concern is, I'm waiving confidentiality, and this is for the good of public process on this is, and I'm trying not to, I don't even know if I'm in a place, I don't want to waive the municipal attorney's confidentiality, but at least the preliminary comment I've received, I haven't seen any analysis, is I should not be on this board. So I'm concerned about staying on it if there's really no sufficient ground for the municipal attorney to overturn it. And I also haven't seen the analysis, so I don't know if there's any weakness in the analysis. But is there anything that can be shared on the record regarding at least a preliminary determination? So the public is aware of that? I'm turning that over to Paul.
Oh,
to see if he
sure.
can give any kind of answer.
Yeah, and I guess this would just be speaking on as far as my own opinion, since it hasn't been approved by Blair. Certainly, I would defer to or I mean, that would be the official position that comes out later. But just what we had submitted to Blair, my own opinion would be that the municipal code, when it defines elected or appointed public official, means appointed public office means the same definition that's used in APAC, meaning that there's only 2 municipal boards that have that prohibition. So out of all the dozens of boards where members are appointed, it's the Ethics Board and the Election Commission are the only 2 that have that prohibition. There's one other place in the code that defines public office. That's in Chapter 2, dealing with the type of municipal officials that are subject to lobbying restrictions. So in that chapter, it uses the definition of public office that's almost identical to the APOC definition. So it's structured the same way, it's formatted the same way. It has the same type of subparagraphs. So the conclusion that I reached was that when it uses public office, it's basically using that same definition that would have been understood to be the same as what APOC uses for state officials. So whether if it's a municipal employee, the definition of public office would be in Chapter 2 of the code. If it's a state public office, then it would be the APOC definition. And we also looked at past practice. We went through, I think it was 88 appointments to either the Ethics Board or the Election Commission, looking at the resumes and background materials that were submitted. So of those 88 submissions over the last couple decades, none of them would have qualified as public officials under APOC's definition at the time that they were submitted. So that, in our mind, was strong evidence that this has commonly been understood to reflect that definition. Now, there were 4 or 5 times that we could find where people became public officials after after they were appointed to the board. And in each of those cases, there was a resignation that the person had resigned from the Board of Ethics afterwards. The most recent one of those was Judge McKenna, who was in private practice when he was initially appointed to the board, then was appointed as the director of the Office of Special Prosecutions, which that would not be public office under APOC. But then when he got promoted again to be the director of the criminal division, the director or deputy director of a division within a department is considered appointed public office under APOC. So that's when he would have crossed the line to being a public official. The other, to answer,
he didn't resign until he was installed on the bench, right?
Correct. So there was a period of time where, based on what we believe public office means, where he continued serving on the Board of Ethics when he was a public official and failed to meet the qualifications for being on the Ethics Board. So to answer your question then, Becky, that you had during the pre-meeting, so there were 11 cases where he participated as a board member there, but none of them found an ethics violation, which I think is important to for any future challenges or future issues that would come up. And then of the 11, only one of them was he a participant on the board where the board would have lacked a quorum absent his participation. So there was more than 4 members that participated in the 10. And the one where it was only 3 was a simple declination where the board declined to take up the issue. So I don't think there would be any issues with that, but yes, it was an issue that probably should have been caught when he became the director of the criminal division. The other code provision that I think might be relevant would be under Chapter 4, it's 4.05.060. And this gets back to Board Member Wilson's question about what should happen in the meantime. But it does say there, when an office of a member of a board or commission shall become vacant, if the member ceases to meet the qualifications prescribed for the office. So that might be something that the board wants to look at as well in the meantime, where that provision at least seems to indicate that when a board member is no longer qualified or does not meet the qualifications for the office, the position automatically becomes vacant. And then the assembly shall be promptly notified of the removal of any official under this section. So we addressed that in the memo as well. I'm not sure if that's going to be the final conclusion or what should be done on that, but that's something, I guess, relevant for the board as well.
And what notice do you give to the mayor? Because, I mean, if he has a vacant position, I'm more interested in him being able to fulfill the membership of the board than staying in this kind of a weird status.
I think under paragraph D, so it would be the mayor's obligation to notify the assembly if somebody was removed, but I don't think, at this point, I don't think that determination has been made, because I don't, you know, from Megan and I's perspective, I don't know if that's going to be the municipal attorney's position or not.
I see,
So
and
we
that's
don't-
what
we don't-
Blair's review.
Right.
Okay,
So I don't
she
think we-
represents the mayor. Yeah.
Reached that point where notification has to be made, but if the agreement is with that conclusion, then that would be the implication of it.
And I'm more concerned about the mayor's ability to select someone for this board and your ability to function with someone who's supposed to be here. I mean, I'm happy to sit in this status and abstain until we have a determination. But I'm trying to
Did
figure
we
out
make the
benefit of that.
determination that we needed you to abstain? My recollection
did
was
not.
we felt like, yeah. Or
Yeah,
you, but you're
didn't,
more
but I'm just
comfortable
more, I mean,
abstaining.
I'm more, I guess if I'm seeing something as a 3-2 decision and I was a deciding person, I would be worried about that. For the benefit of those people that we were just talking about and reviewing those decisions. I don't know. I mean, we're an ethics committee and we all take ethics really seriously, right? Do we have any idea of the timing of Blair's review? Would it be by our next meeting, we think?
I can certainly try to put it on her radar screen again. I know we've got some meetings with her later this week. I can bring it up with her again.
I mean, the other
So
option
get-
is
get
for
to
me
it
to
as soon as
just
possible.
resign based on preliminary advice, and she doesn't even have to worry about it. But if she's representing the mayor, which she is, I would rather give him the determination of what to do with my seat than me, I guess is where I would put it. If that makes sense. So I will, unless the board disagrees, I can continue. I can vote. I might be cautious if I see a 3-2 vote to maybe request that we, postpone a decision until this is resolved. I don't know if that's the way to go forward.
I don't know that we could postpone the decision. I think we could vote
Okay,
with you recusing yourself, but we do,
All right.
I mean, pursuant to the code, we have quorum, and I think we
Okay.
also have the duty to people who are looking
Yeah.
for opinions,
that makes
to-
sense.
because it could be several months before we get through. If we wait for a month
Mhm.
for an opinion,
Mhm.
and then if the decision is that you elect to step down, or the decision is that you need to step down, then I assume there'll be some delay while the mayor's office proposes a new, I just would be reluctant to say,
Right.
we're not gonna vote on anything that might be contentious for.
Well, I might reach out to my contacts in the mayor's office and just say, start looking for people. It's looking like you should. Your attorney's looking at it.
I guess,
so-
yeah. I was gonna say, I guess that's my concern is like, unlike, when we had this situation apparently with Jack, none of us knew it and it was really off our radar and,
Mhm.
it was really your sharp eye that caught it, Joan. But now it is on our radar and we've just been given some preliminary advice from our legal counsel. And I should point out that in the code, Paul is a separate legal counsel to the board. So the municipal attorney is not the only legal counsel of the board. That's precisely why we brought on one of the hearing officers to have a separate voice that was not necessarily within the structure of the municipal attorney's office. I'm still willing to call it.
Although the hearing officer does technically report to the municipal attorney in the reporting structure of the municipality, just as moment of clarity.
That's right. I mean, but not in the same way probably that Megan does, right?
True, the
Well-
supervisory structure, well, it's a long story, but the supervisory structure is a little more attenuated.
Yeah,
And when I was municipal attorney, I tried very hard not to have any oversight over the adjudicative function of the hearing officer, because that is ethically should be separate from the municipal attorney, but we would talk about issues of the ethics board and in general municipal process and staff management issues, but. Yeah.
So
But
my-
your point is duly taken, that Paul is a separate counsel to the board, and we as a board have received this advice right now.
Yeah, so that's my concern, then sort of like plowing forward with Joan participating when our best sense is, at least at the moment, is that she's not going to be, that she currently does not meet the qualifications of being on the board. I worry about kind of pushing forward knowing that.
Paul, could you reiterate your conclusion regarding municipal code and the disqualification? It sounded like you were saying that Title IV, your read of Title IV is that a member of a municipal board who becomes unqualified for the position is automatically deemed to be no longer part of the board as of the date of disqualification. Is that?
I guess I would phrase it a little bit different. What the provision states, I'll just read it word for word. So it's Title 4, 05060, and it states the office of a member of a board or commission member shall become vacant if the members, and then paragraph 1, ceases to meet the qualifications prescribed for the office. So what that means to me is, say, for example, a board member moved outside of the municipality of Anchorage or moved to another state. There's no removal process or no, like, I mean, the mayor could just automatically appoint a new person to that spot once the position becomes vacant. So that could happen automatically, that a new person could be appointed. But then under paragraph D, it says the assembly shall be promptly notified of the removal of any official under this section. So to me, that doesn't sound like it would, I mean, there still has to be a determination by the mayor or somebody that the person does not meet the qualifications of the office. And then the assembly would be notified that this position is now vacant.
But
And
where
that's
do you
what-
see the mayor or his designee shall notify the official of his, that's delinquency. Where is the provision about someone needs to make a decision?
Under paragraph D of 405060. So it just says if somebody is removed under any, or the assembly shall be promptly notified of the removal of any official under this section.
Okay. I think where I'm inclined to land is that probably we're best served, Joan, if you recuse yourself from this meeting and we have a decision from the municipal attorney by the next meeting, and potentially you could also talk with, if you have contacts in the mayor's office, Joan, to say, encourage the mayor to encourage that timeliness as well.
You to
Because
and start looking. Yeah, I think that's
I'm
fair.
sure it's in his best interest to have this done too. I feel like I am reluctant to, I will admit, I'm reluctant to accept where it feels that the conclusion is leading, because Joan, you're a fantastic asset to the board. And it's evidenced by the fact that you analyzed and assessed this issue yourself. So, and caught this issue that no one else had caught. So
That's it. I quit as AMCO director. No, just kidding.
Aren't we more fun? Come on. So anyhow, I just want to say that on the record, that you've been a fantastic part of the board. So I'm reluctant to accept that this is this is the reality we live in. But I think it would be wise for us to receive the advice from the municipal attorney also, so that we understand if there's a divergence of opinion, how we'd like to respond to that. But probably it is the better part of valor, as Terry highlighted, to have you recuse yourself from votes until we get to that point next month. Is that?
And may I say, the process is for the people. This is not about me. It's for anyone sitting in this position. So this is not a personal affront at all. I'm happy to serve as, in other capacities where this isn't a concern, but it's the importance of why this committee is here, and I'm not here to at all impact people's rights. So I will happily abstain from the rest of the meeting, reach out to the mayor's office, and perhaps folks could reach out to Blair to say, because this ethics committee is so important and you best operate at full membership, to start looking for a replacement, and or decide Paul's advice is completely wrong. which Paul, I mean, I'm not impacting. What you said makes sense, but those are their only two options, right?
I mean, we certainly have an option, they have an option, or the administration or the assembly has an option, or we have the option to make a recommendation for code change. That is another option. I think that's a bigger question of what would be the definition of an elected or appointed public official if it's not the APOC thing. So that is that's a third path that goes separate and apart from the other two, but within the language of our current code, I think you correctly outlined the.
Yeah, I think there are enough people that don't have APOC requirements that could serve this board well. I wouldn't encourage the assembly to make an exception in, these limited circumstances.
Well, I would second Becky's point, though. It's like I cringe at the thought of losing you because you've been an outstanding board member. And so I would ask you if it's okay with you not to resign until we know for sure that you couldn't serve.
Right.
And then let's see, because we might find that maybe there's some wiggle room, at least, right? That when we finally get the final opinion, that there's some wiggle room for interpretation and massaging and things like that. So,
and the only wiggle room I could think of is that once I'm appointed, I am not removed for political reasons. So my position is a little different, really, than any other position in the state.
Right.
You'd have to replace the entire board to replace, or at least 3 of 5 members to replace me. That's the only thing that says I'm kind of free of political. I wouldn't be using this as a political route to harm other people. But I think the broader point of the ethics committee is we don't want you to have those interests. We want people without them deciding ethical issues. And that's where I personally come down to, because it's not personal to me. On that note, I will abstain from the rest of the meeting. Jennifer keeps me well updated, as does Jenna and Paul. And I look forward to seeing you, even just briefly, at the next meeting when we have a decision.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Thanks, Joan.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Joan.
Becky, I need to step away now as well. I've got to run and get the kiddo. So I will be back in about 10 minutes or so.
Okay. Thanks, Terry. I believe that Terry was the drafter on item 6B.
Of course.
Request for advisory opinion. I have not read that because it arrived just as we were starting the meeting at 2:33 p.m.
Same.
So we could potentially take a moment and review that. Maybe Terry will be back by the time we have reviewed it. And then I would propose that if we get done and he is still not with us, potentially we move ahead to item 7A and wait for him to come back before we continue with 6B. Does everyone need a few minutes to read the partisan activity, the
Yes,
past
please.
opinion? Okay.
And just a reminder, board members, that you are in open session. So if you desire to discuss this draft in deliberative session, you can move there.
Ironically, this is the one that I recused myself from, right? This is with
Oh, right.
Oh, so we don't have a quorum to discuss this.
yeah, sorry.
Let's move
Okay.
on to the next one. And then should we do that?
Jennifer, do we need a motion to reorder the agenda to move this until Mr. Kelly's return?
I think given where you are in the agenda already, you could just direct that that's what you're going to do.
All right, excellent. So we will pick up item 6B when Mr. Kelly returns to the meeting. So we will then move on to item 7A, confidential ethics complaint for potential violation 2022-9. So do I have a motion to move us into deliberative session for discussion of item 7A?
So moved.
Second?
And I support that as well. So let's hop over to the other meeting invite.
Okay.
Respect to ethics complaint for potential violation 2022-9.
I move that, well, I think the board has voted to, sorry, I'm finding my section, decline to review this complaint under 115, 160, A2, B, the complaint relates to a matter outside the jurisdiction of the board or would be better handled in another forum. And to G, the allegations, if true, fail to constitute a violation of the code of ethics. And we would ask Mr. Avasti to draft up a response to that effect for our chair's signature.
Right here, second.
Oh, yeah, sorry, second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Carrie, do you vote aye or you abstain? You abstain?
I'll abstain for this one, yeah, since I missed the executive session.
Excellent. All right. Item is complete. So now I would say we should go back to Terry. In your absence, we moved past request for advisory opinion 2022-6 because you have been the drafting. You had the pen on that opinion, so we moved ahead and picked up 7A. And now we can circle back to 6B, request for advisory opinion 2022-6. So we can take a
So
moment.
this is the one that I'm recusing myself from, right? This
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna need like an email when you're all are done with this one. Okay, Jennifer, I guess that's your job.
Will do.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, I need a moment to read Terry's draft.
Same. We'll do that now.
All right, good. Yeah, sorry, it's a mess, but I wanted to at least get something in front of you today just to get a sense of this. Was this the right direction that we wanted to go in with this?
Should we move to deliberative session or read first and then decide if we're going to deliberative session? How do we want to do this?
I
I
probably
don't have a strong,
idea to discuss it in deliberative session at any rate.
yeah. I don't have a strong preference about whether we read here or in deliberative session. If it'd be easier to go over to deliberative, that's fine. Do I have a motion to go to deliberative session?
So moved.
Second.
And I support that. So let's pop over there and read. Record that we have discussed a draft opinion and request for advisory opinion 2022-6 and are not at this point prepared to make a motion and take a vote on the final opinion, but will await a final revised draft from Assemblymember Kelly at the next meeting. Assemblymember, not, sorry, board member.
I just got a promotion. That's great.
Congratulations.
All right. So now we're on to 7B, request for advisory opinion 2022-10. Was Dee going to join us for this section?
Madam Chair, she asked me to convey to the board she had another obligation at this time, would be happy to join you next meeting.
Got it. Would we like to have a preliminary discussion now or to await Ms. Ennis's further input at the next meeting?
I suspect that rather than spinning our own wheels without what I suspect is good guidance that Ms. Ennis could provide, maybe we should just wait until next meeting.
Yeah, that would be my thought too. I mean, I've worked with Dee on this issue enough to know like what the general concern is, right? You know, like coming up with some clearer questions or a clearer framework so that they can, you know, quiz people correctly and you know, in a way that they find helpful for determining these conflicts of interest. What I don't know is how far Dee has gotten. You know, Dee's been working on coming up with a draft set of new questions. Not that it would replace the code, but that would sort of like more, you know, clearly articulate what the code's after when you're, but I don't know where she is with that. And so we would run the risk of having a conversation and then talking to Dee next time and being like, oh, you've already done all that. Or, you know, we were kind of off base in terms of where we were going.
I think
Okay,
I can answer that if you want, Madam Chair.
Sure.
Dee did indicate to me that she anticipates having a draft recommendation for you at the next meeting.
Okay, well then let's have a motion to continue item 7B to our next meeting. Do I have anyone?
So moved?
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
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 Abram?
I abstain, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. All right, then 7B is continued to our next meeting. So now we are at 7C, which is a confidential ethics complaint for a potential violation. That's ethics complaint for potential violation 2022-11. Do I have a motion to move into deliberative session to discuss?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 All right, let's pop over. All right, do I have a motion with respect to our discussion and deliberative session?
So I move that we accept, what number is it again? 22,
-11.
that we accept 22-11 for review.
And invite,
Right, sorry, and invite Manager Domboski and Silly Member Forrest Dunbar to speak with us for a little bit about it.
Do I have a second?
I think this may have been confidential, so maybe we want to invite the complainant and the respondent to speak with us more about this, but yeah.
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry, yes. Oh, no, the complaint and the response, thank you. Let me change that. I so move that we accept 22-11 and that we invite the respondent and complainant to come and speak with us.
Do I have a second?
Second, sorry.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 All right. So we have a path forward on ethics complaint for potential violation 2022-11. At this point, we are at 4:26 p.m. So I don't believe we have enough time to get into item 7D, the distribution of board reports as public records, because that I think is going to require more time for discussion. So I think that item needs to be continued to our next regular meeting. Do I have any member comments before we adjourn?
I have 2 member comments. Like I said, I won't be at the next meeting, so depending on what happens with Joan Wilson, we may, I don't know, you guys can figure out if there's a quorum. I don't know if we're going to come close. And then I don't know if anyone knows if there's been any movement on whether Mr. Kelly and I will be invited to stay on the board. If not, if this is the last time I'm in a meeting, it's been great.
Oh, Kelly's term. Oh, your term is up? I had no idea.
Yeah,
Both of
Terry's too.
theirs, yeah.
Yeah, they ended last week.
Yeah.
Jennifer, do you have any further information on that?
Madam Chair, we have no further information other than to tell you you are fine, board members, to serve for up to 120 days past your expiration. So beyond November, Member Pallison, unless someone else is appointed. But Megan could potentially have more information.
Okay.
Megan?
And I do not. I know that it's on the administration's radar, but I don't have any other information to give you at this point. So I have not heard anything.
Okay.
If we'd assume that it would take more than a month, though, at this point, if there has not been, because the matter would be both, there'd be 2 assembly cycles. It'll be introduced and it'll be voted on, right? So I think we have some time before I would assume there will not be a new member before next, or new members if that's the path that the administration takes prior to our next meeting.
Someone remind me, do we have a December meeting set yet?
I believe we scheduled through the end of the year.
Okay, great. I can go look. That's fine. I was just wondering.
It looks
And
like
It's
it's
December 21st.
scheduled for the 21st, which we may need to discuss at our next meeting, because I know I will be on an airplane during that meeting, traveling for the holidays. So,
Sometimes the board takes December off.
okay, well, let's see where we are in terms of the amount of backlog we have at that point, and whether we have any remaining board members.
Okay.
Do I
Not
have
looking
a
good.
motion to adjourn?
Wait, I have one more member comment. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, member comment,
I
yeah.
keep freaking out on whether these meetings are going to be online or in person. Like almost every meeting. Are we going to have these online like now for the next foreseeable future?
I think unless we have a reason, Aisha, if you need to leave it, go ahead. I would say unless we have a reason to meet in person, like we have a series of people coming to see us and we like to make sure we like can facilitate that or maintain confidentiality or something like that, then I would say our default will be that we will remain virtual unless the will of the body is otherwise.
I prefer that default as well. I just wanted to make sure. So I stopped freaking out after 10 minutes before every meeting, thinking that maybe I have to drive to the muni. You know what I mean? Cool.
Terry, do you have any member comments?
No comment.
All right, a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I support that as well. So thank you all, and I will see you at our next meeting.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care.